Watch the holder. I try to open my mouth and wait for it to rain.
Sir, I don't believe I've had the honor.
Nor I, until now. I am Sir Conrad, Lord of Wächter. And you are the heir to the Lord of Rabosh, are you not?
Used to be. My father somewhat disowned me some time ago.
And I used to be the Royal Mint Master, until the King decided to replace me.
Are you going to support the Margrave's proposal?
I haven't quite decided yet. It's true that displeasure against the King is noticeably growing in Kuttenberg, but if our rebellion were to come face to face with Sigismund's army, I'd be risking my future, if not my life.
Do you think you might get your position as Mint Master back again?
I doubt it. Half the town hates Vavak, but no one would even think of saying a word against him. And he knows that his security stands and falls with his function, so he clings to it tooth and nail.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
The likes of Rutard and the Alder will certainly find some use for us.
Christ, again? Come on, don't be a chicken. You can do it. You'll... drink anything, even if it'd knock out a horse.
Sir Bocek, I need to speak with you for a moment.
A man hardly puts his cup to his lips and someone comes along to put a flea in his ear. Jobst comes up with a plan as full of holes as a beggar's shoes, and now you're all jostling to win me over for him.
On the contrary, I've come here with an idea how to improve it.
Does that improvement include a few thousand men-at-arms? If not, you can go to the devil with it.
A few thousand men-at-arms as a convincing argument. And 100 horsemen on top. Only in order to get them, we need coin.
You've got my attention, but not my money yet.
How can I persuade you?
I need guarantees of security. I don't want to end up like Rutard.
Of course. Once it comes to protecting property, ideals go out the window.
You can talk, since you haven't got a pot to piss in yourself. If you were in my position, you'd think differently. I have a lot of property, lots of subjects to look after, and along with that, the Lord blessed me with a large family. I can't risk it all in a conflict with Sigismund.
So you need guarantees that you won't be left standing in the cold if you openly oppose Sigismund.
My guarantee is called Yitka. She's my niece. If I succeeded in marrying her off to another strong house, I'll have the certainty that I won't be left alone.
Maybe it's enough to find a suitable groom among the allies.
Perhaps someone of suitable standing who Yitka would also gladly accept. I don't want her to be unhappy.
I'd be honored to oblige. I'm in my prime.
Forget about it. Even if by some miracle you could manage to sire children, you'd die before you could raise them.
The truth doesn't offend, my lord. But I had to give it a try. How about young Lord Capel?
He's a youngster still.
He may be young, but he's got something between his ears. He's got battle experience. And when he gets the estate that's his by right, he'll be well secured for life.
If he gets it. Right now, Hanush lords over Rattay and seems quite happy with that state of affairs. On the other hand, the lords of Lipa have a good reputation, and Hanush can always be relied on despite his temper. Maybe it's not such a bad idea.
So, will you support our plan?
You're selling the skin of a boar that's still grunting. First, I want a confirmation that the wedding will take place as soon as possible.
And what if Lord Capon refuses?
I don't care what the young lord thinks. Hanush is the one to decide. If he agrees, I'll be happy to support your plan.
Pushing a friend to tie the knot to save the kingdom. Things have come to a pretty pass.
The kingdom will not forget his sacrifice. Now stop dilly-dallying and go and tell Hanush.
Jesus Christ be praised.
Come on then, show us what you can do, unless you're playing for the first time.
Take a look at that.
And Godwin, you wouldn't be avoiding me. We didn't have much time for conversation on the way here. Let's rectify that.
With pleasure, sir. As it happens, there's something I'd like to ask you. What are you expecting from today's gathering, my lord?
Well, I have no great expectations. But, all going well, we may be able to establish some joint steps towards the future. As long as we proceed without prior agreement and mutual support, we will be very unlikely to achieve any progress.
I couldn't help but notice your son has a bit of a talent for getting into trouble.
To put it mildly, but not to do him an injustice, knowing young Lord Capon, he undoubtedly contributed to that more than a little. Although, if they didn't pull each other out of trouble, God knows where they'd be now.
Wise words. Still, Henry's come a long way on a thorny path. I trust you're rightfully proud of him.
You know, I am. And Martin would also be glad, even though Henry chose a different path than he.
May God grant him eternal rest. Where did you leave Sir Divish? Surely he's not too old to miss out on such an event.
Haven't you heard? Lady Stephanie is with child. No one even imagined Divish would produce an heir at his age.
As they say, it doesn't matter who kneaded the dough, as long as there's a pie in the oven.
Godwin.
Well, it could be a miracle. Praise the Lord! God be with you, noble lady. There's something I'd like to ask of you.
God be with you. What would that be?
Your diplomatic support. And your money.
No beating around the bush, eh? I like that. But what do you want my money for?
Margrave Yob's plan has some gaps, milady. We need to gather enough resources to...
To muster an army that Margrave can't afford on his own?
Christ! Be praised. You're astute.
I should say so. All sorts of people have their eyes on my money, and divining their intentions is a necessity. Although, between the two of us, it isn't hard to figure out what Liechtenstein is after.
How do you know Liechtenstein's behind it?
I know most of the people here very well. Many of them certainly have doubts about the Margrave's plans, but they wouldn't dream of stating them aloud. While it seems that Lord Liechtenstein, on the contrary, sees his opportunity.
I'd say you have a better nose for people than most of this crowd.
Not only for people, but also for good food and wine. And beneficial deals.
Then you're in the right place. This occasion provides all of those things.
The wine here is average. The cooks lack imagination. And I have yet to hear any interesting offers. So, to the point. What is it that Liechtenstein wants from me?
Nothing more than support and resources for an army to parley more effectively with Sigismund.
Nothing more? I'd say that's plenty. And why ask me for help? Why should I, of all people, take the risk?
Sigismund won't take revenge on a woman. That would tarnish his reputation.
Maybe he wouldn't directly. But nasty accidents can happen to anyone. If you want me to support you, you must give me a good reason. Perhaps a favor in return.
Do you have something in particular in mind?
Well, one of the guests here has something that shouldn't get into the wrong hands.
Who's that?
Harman Alder. Now, if you were to switch these papers for the ones he brought with him, I would support your proposal.
I'm supposed to rob an ally.
Harman Alder was given the documents to deliver to the council. He hasn't yet had a chance to look at them, so he won't even notice the difference.
And the papers I'm supposed to plant on Alder?
Just insignificant documents. If the incriminating ones disappeared without a trace, it would arouse suspicion.
And these papers I'm supposed to switch, what do they concern?
My relatives somehow dug up some trade contracts between myself and certain undesirable parties.
You were dealing with the enemy.
They were not the enemy at the time. My conscience is clear, but I'll rest easier when those papers are in my hands.
Have you fallen out with the town councillor?
No. Alder is innocent in the matter. My relatives from the House of Bartosz are behind it all. They're disappointed that I dared outlive my husband, and the fact that I'm handling his estates makes their hair stand on end.
All right, I'll help you. Or at least I'll give it a try.
Alder will surely have the papers in his saddlebags, which he left in the shed on the outer courtyard. Bring them to me, and put these there instead. But watch yourself. Odorin's groom has eyes everywhere.
I've got some good news and some bad news for you.
The bad news is there's hardly any females in this whole damned place. There's some old bat standing there with two young girls, but she watches over them like a mother hen. So at least tell me the good news.
You're going to get married.
Good one. Is she at least pretty?
I don't know. I've never seen her.
You're really a barrel of laughs, Godwin. Wait till Hannah hears this. Now, enough nonsense. Let's have a drink to your health and my freedom.
I'd better slow down, or I won't live to see the morning.
Ah, what can one expect from a man of the cloth?
I tell you, nobody has the likes of these.
Not even Bocek?
Not even Bocek. He's a great lord.
That's hard.
Mind where you're going.
Good day.
What's that? God bless.
I just need to get something from the shed. You know what? Take this here. And you saw nothing, all right?
And what's there to see?
Not a sausage.
I'm in favor of decisive action. We can no longer afford to wait.
As if I didn't have enough on my plate already.
Exactly why we mustn't push too hard.
Burgers, patricians, and usurers. They're without one.
We're trying to...
I've got those papers from Alder for you.
Quiet! You don't have to announce it to everyone.
Lady, with all the clamor going on here, I can hardly hear my own thoughts. Here they are.
You're more capable than I expected. Thanks for the help.
You're welcome. And now you're part of the bargain.
As agreed. I will support Liechtenstein's proposal with both words and money.
Thank you, noble lady. God will...
Yes, quite. But let's drink to our bargain, Godwin.
How could I refuse a toast with such a fine lady? To your health, Lady Anna.
And to the success of our efforts.
See ya? Cheers!
I'd like to check your horses out and see if they're as good as you say.
Pah, even better. But you won't believe it until you see for yourself.
And you might not believe your eyes when you do see them. Well, well, we have a new guest. I wanted to...
You wanted to apologize for crashing into my home without it by your leave. Or to arrest my guests some more?
I want to have a word with Older.
Well, I'm having a word with you.
I apologize, Father.
For interrupting our conversation? Or just for being you?
Is that your...
Unfortunately. Speak up then. What are you doing here?
I came with a delegation from Sir Hanush of Lipa.
Is this a joke?
Why so strict, Martin?
20 years ago, he was nothing but a cheeky brat, only interested in wenches and booze. I got him a place at the Archbishopric to have some sense beaten into his head. Only it wasn't long before they kicked him out. And then I find out he's settled in some backwater parish in Sasau. But he took his boozing and whoring along with him, lost everything, and then came creeping home again. Huh?
Try saying it again a little louder. They might not have heard you in the outer courtyard.
You have the impertinence to show me your face after the way you disgraced our whole family?
You're exaggerating, like you've always done.
Me? Exaggerating? You're the one who turned my home into a house of ill repute. Your whores wandering around as if they owned the place.
Oh, actually, anything fun was strictly banned under your roof. But maybe you ought to try it yourself sometime. Then maybe you wouldn't be such a bitter old grouch.
You're dishonoring your host.
I can't dishonor someone who has no honor. If you had any, you'd be...
That's enough!
Christopher.
You won't get away with those insults. I challenge you to a duel.
I'm not happy about it, but I accept. This isn't how I imagined my first meeting with my brother.
Make room for us. We'll just settle a very private matter. It's an honorable duel, man against man. Stay back! That's enough. You should never have come here. You must have known you'd only upset Father.
And you ought to know yourself. Not all the faults that Father sees are real.
Aye. Well, I apologize for going off like that. I had to, so that...
So Father would be satisfied. I know. Only he'll never be satisfied. The sooner you realize that, the better.
I thought he was the way he was because his first son let him down. And he hoped at least his second would become something.
Not at all. I remember him the same since I was a nipper. When I was 6 years old, I fell off a horse and broke my leg. He wouldn't talk to me for a week because I'd let him down.
The first time he took me hunting, he let me starve for 3 days until I was able to shoot my first hare.
Only 3 days. He got soft.
I always wondered who you were. There was never much talk about you at home.
Look, I really did fuck up everything I could. I brawled and boozed until they threw me out of my own parish. But now, I have a chance to put things to rights a little.
And that's why you want to talk to Alder.
I've got to get him on our side and to cooperate with us.
Aren't we all on the same side?
Maybe everyone's saying that. But it's time to put it into action.
After your encounter with Father, it won't be easy to get to Alder. Actually, I don't think you should even attempt it. Unless you want to anger Father even more.
What else can I do, though?
I'll talk to him myself. He'll hear me out for sure. But you'll have to trust me. And tell me what it's all about.
All right, then. You've heard Yob's plan, right? It's a nice idea, but we can't wait around without an army to back us up.
Only no one's going to pay for one, because that would be an outright admission of rebelling against Sigismund.
Alder's got some clout with the councillors and burghers who are loyal to Sigismund. If he agrees, they'll follow.
I expect Alder's not the only one you're after.
You got that right.
Leave Alder to me. The plan sounds sensible, and he's no fool.
I don't know how to thank you.
You can drag me to a tavern sometime. Pa doesn't need to know about it.
You're starting to sound like a brother.
Puked all over my feet. May God be with you then. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
All the others tossed in just from the smell of it. Don't tell me you...
You seem a bit out of sorts. Anything wrong?
Oh, these grand aristocratic assemblies are nothing for me. I'd be happier if they just told me in the morning how it all went and what my boys have to do next.
But then you'd miss all the grub and the booze. And the gossip.
Oh, and have you heard anything interesting here?
It seems Liechtenstein's looking for allies. For his own ends.
And how's he gonna do it? Didn't you see them all fighting tooth and nail here just a while ago?
Well, different approaches work with different people.
The only approach that'll work with Sigismund is open resistance. Maybe on the field of battle?
Hey, where's that beer?
A lot of people think the wealthy burghers will stick with Sigismund, whether out of fear or convenience.
Well, that's to be expected. As long as Sigismund has the city council under his thumb, no one will rock the boat.
Well, at least there's a few individuals here, like Ruthard.
Sigismund confiscated his castle and half his estates. That'll be enough to make a man mad. Not to mention that his son was killed in the siege of the city.
Let's hope young Lord Capon manages to stay free for a while longer. Ever since leaving Rattay, he's gone from one pile of trouble to another.
That's one thing you can always count on him for. I'll gladly wager with you he'll end up in some other shit by evening.
God forbid. Henry's not here now to pull him out of it.
In that case, it'll be up to you. I'm sure you wouldn't leave him to disgrace himself in front of Hanush.
Welcome. What can I do for you?
We've got quite a bit in common, wouldn't you say?
More than you think. If my memory doesn't deceive me, you serve as a parish priest. So I recollect, at least, from my recent discussions with Martin.
Served. That's in the past.
Even so. Before King Wenceslas appointed me his mint master, I was a priest. I was even being groomed to become a bishop.
And now look at us. We have cast off our robes and merrily hatched plots against Sigismund.
There's no point in waiting for divine intervention. On the contrary, the current state of affairs demands quite a secular approach.
Your Grace, may I disturb you for a moment?
Certainly.
Godwin, I came with the lords from Rattay.
Ah, now I remember. Forgive me, there are many guests and I only have one head.
Lord Liechtenstein asked me for help, in our collective interest. But if you'll allow me, sir, I'd like to ask you a few questions, so I'm clear about what I can do to help.
Indeed. And what would you like to know?
I wasn't expecting to meet the Rabbi of Kuttenberg here.
Oh, really? Half of Kuttenberg has accumulated debts with usurers that they cannot repay, or even do not intend to. The rabbi knows his people are under threat, and that Sigismund will not protect them if something should befall, similar to what happened in Prague.
So they naturally took a stance against Sigismund.
What's more, if Wenceslas regains the throne, they can expect him to reward them.
Your plan, if I may be so bold, has a few gaping holes. Sigismund may attack anywhere and any time, and we have no way to defend ourselves. You want to wait, fine. But you should at least give some assurance to the lords that they'll live to see it through.
You amuse me, Godwin. A parish priest teaching the Margrave of Moravia about politics. I know you mean well, but try to look at it with cold reasoning.
I'd reason better with an army at my back.
Do you realize how much such an army costs? The gentlemen here have trouble agreeing about much lesser sums.
And if a way could be found, and the means...
Before that happens, Sigismund will take his shoes off and head off to Rome barefoot.
Do you still think the lords will agree at the end of the day? I'm beginning to lose hope.
That's the way of politics. Some are persuaded by silver, some by a well-chosen word. Others are convinced by tempting promises.
And if none of that does the trick?
Such cases usually end in quarrels between former allies, while the enemy is laughing up his sleeve.
John of Liechtenstein is acting in your interest, isn't he?
That was the original agreement. And on the outside, it still looks that way, I trust.
I understood that he was on our side.
Yes, he is. Only, he is slowly starting to act more and more on his own initiative.
Although, that doesn't have to be a bad thing, does it?
He still lacks the experience to be capable of evaluating some situations. But he is persuasive, and easily wins people to his side. Unfortunately.
But it was you who sent him to Kuttenberg, wasn't it?
True. But I certainly never told him to hole up in the Jewish quarter and pursue his own private plans there. And by doing so, he put both himself and our common interests in jeopardy.
On whose side do the wealthy burghers stand?
From the entire elite of Kuttenberg. Only Kunzelin Rutard and Haman Alder have come here. Not that I'm surprised. The king keeps a close eye on them through the city council, seeking the slightest pretext to confiscate their wealth.
But if Rutard and Alder can be persuaded...
We don't need to convince Rutard. And Martin is already working on Alder. But he might be pushing a little hard.
Look out!
Sir Kunzelin, I haven't yet had the pleasure.
You're Godwin, aren't you? I've heard about you from Martin.
Oh dear.
Have no fear. I know Martin well, and I know he's prone to exaggeration. Anything I can do for you?
Will you support Margrave Jobst's plan?
That depends on what it is. If he decides to just wait, then no. I can't take that risk any longer.
Do you think we should look for help somewhere else?
I came here for one reason alone. To hear a plan of attack against Sigismund. If Jobst doesn't lay one out before me, I'll try and find someone more courageous.
I expect you know Lady Anna of Waldstein well.
Why wouldn't I? She's joined at the hip with my daughter Rosa.
I hope she doesn't feel unwelcome here. I've heard she's a bit of a thorn in the side for some of the gents here.
To her own relatives, certainly. But I'll tell you one thing. I knew her husband, Wenzel, and he married her out of love. And I cared for him devotedly till the day he died. And it wasn't a quick death.
So it's not true what they say? That his demise was convenient for her?
Vile slander. People just can't forgive her for coming into a fortune as a young widow.
What do you think of the rabbi's offer? The Kuttenberg Jewish community is large, and their support could change everything.
Or nothing. To be honest, I've no idea what to expect of the rabbi's offer.
He said he was interested in an alliance, though, didn't he?
Aye, but still he must be aware that whatever happens, it won't change the lot of his people.
So you don't trust him?
And isn't it natural? It's not just faith in the walls of their quarter that separates us. They live in our city, but they're more foreign than the Germans or the Hungarians. God be with you.
Everything all right? You look a bit out of sorts.
I can't wait for it to end so we can get out of here.
I reckon you'd have to be pretty brave to come and mingle with the Kuttenberg lords.
Or pretty pissed off.
Or that.
We will leave as soon as we can. Anyway, all of these worthy gentlemen will be relieved when we are out of sight.
Would you tell me something about your community? I haven't found out much so far.
What can I tell you? It was never exactly glorious. And now especially, everyone is quaking that what is still left to us will be taken away.
Surely it won't be that bad.
There are many fools who would rather take out their gall on us and start to fight among themselves. In times of uncertainty, it is always the sons of Israel who are the first to be stricken.
How are you getting on so far?
Aside from the happy family reunion, everything is going according to plan. Thanks for asking.
I'd almost forgotten about that little detail. But fortunately, it wasn't too much of a fuss.
Father is getting old. There were times when he could keep yelling at me half the day.
Keep it up. We've still got a lot of work to do. Just don't overdo it with the wine. No one takes a walking wineskin seriously.
Too hard.
Burgers, patricians, and users. Without one.
We're trying to forge an alliance against our common enemy.
It's none of your bloody business. A nightingale.
Sir Hanush, I bring happy tidings.
You do? Let's hear it then.
I've gained us a powerful ally.
And who is it? I hope it's not one of those Kuttenberg stuffed guts.
On the contrary, it's Bocek, the Elder of Kunstadt and Podjebrad.
Kunstadt? My Christ, he's the last one I'd have expected to step up. How the hell did you do it?
Well, I explained to him how such an alliance could be mutually beneficial.
Mutually? What do you mean?
He's got a pretty serious personal interest in this... bond.
Stop beating around the bush and spit out what you promised him.
Lord Kunstad has a niece, so... I arranged a betrothal for young Lord Capon, with your blessing if you agree.
Hans Capon is to marry Yitka of Kunstadt. Godwin, you conniving old bastard!
Oh, fuck.
I don't believe it. So, young Hans is to marry Kunstadt's daughter?
Niece.
If you're serious, I'll make sure that you get the Rattay parish.
Or you could make me the abbot of Sassa. Or what about a bishopric?
Forget it. Soon I'll be paying for a wedding. Not a word to Hans. I want to tell him myself. But let's drink to it, shall we?
Cheers!
Cheers to you, and to your parleying skills.
May I have a word with you, sir?
You? Anytime. With you, at least, there's some sensible conversation. Unlike this pack of conceited upstarts.
Have you got some...
Their forefathers lived up to their ears in dung. But thanks to the royal mines, they were born with silver spoons up their asses. And they think that can turn their blood blue.
But surely they're not all like that. And they are our allies.
Allies or not, someone ought to show them their place.
Young Lord Capon is finally free again. Let's hope he'll take better care of himself now.
He got a harsh lesson. But at least he might remember to lay off that tomfoolery of his for a while. But if not, war will make a man of him soon enough.
Do you think there's really going to be a war? I mean a proper one, not just sitting around and talking about it.
I sincerely hope so. Whoever sits around risks nothing. It's time to get off our asses and take action.
What do you think about Jobst?
Are you testing me? Jobst called this assembly and he wants things to turn out well. We have to trust him.
To turn out well for whose benefit, though? Some are up to their elbows in silver and blood, so others can live in freedom.
Better make sure you're among the latter, then. And in the meanwhile, help the former to keep their losses to a minimum.
So, Bocek, your niece Yitka can start preparing for her wedding.
So Hanush agreed, without reservations.
Indeed.
Then I will fulfill my end of the bargain without reservation.
Thank you, Lord of Kunstad.
Enough formality. We'll have a drink. What do you say?
Cheers to the beautiful Lady Yitka and the unhappy Lord Caitlin.
Here's to a good bargain.
Hey, where's that beer?
Gentlemen, I think we can raise our goblets to the successful conclusion of the negotiations.
Is this supposed to be your secret weapon?
Like I said, miracles happen where you least expect them. Tell me, Godwin of the House of Odorin, what news do you bring us?
I bring nothing from the House of Odorin. But the widow of Waldstein and Sir Bocek of Kunstad will support our cause.
Both of them. Good heavens, what did you promise them?
This is going to be a long story, and I could use a drink. So if you'll excuse me, my lords?
It would seem that we have all benefited from the break in these proceedings. New alliances have been formed. And I have also changed my plans. We shall still wait for Sigismund to withdraw his troops of his own accord. But we will wait with an army at our backs.
Yes! And how are we to raise an army? Wasn't it made clear at the meeting that no one wants to take the risk?
The only thing made clear was that each of us alone is weak, and that we could not find common ground. But that has now changed.
King Wenceslas is, by the will of God, the balbatim of all his subjects. Not only the Christians. Our community, and not only ours, will give you coin.
Yes! The Kuttenberg houses are still loyal to King Wenceslaus, and we stand with Lord Ruthard.
And if that's not enough, the houses of Leipa and Kunstadt will unite and march side by side.
My niece, Yitka, will take young Lord Capon as her husband.
Lords Kunstadt, Hanush, Radzig, and I will set out immediately. God willing, we will be back within 3 weeks, along with an army.
Now those are words worthy of a nobleman.
My friend, I still believe that words are more powerful than swords. And our words will ring in 1,000 voices to the glory of King Wenceslas!
After we conquered the city, you promised to restore order immediately. And then I find out things are even more disordered than before.
Your Majesty, we are sorry. We will put it to rights.
You've already said that. I want to hear real solutions.
We will put more guards on the roads and toughen penalties. We can have a few captured bandits executed as an example to others.
We do not care about bandits. We care about rebellious nobles and burghers. What will you do with them? How will you solve the chaos in the town administration, the rebellious miners, and the dismal yields? And how is it even possible that a rebellion against the king is smoldering here in the city?
What do you mean, sire?
I hear the resistance is coming from the Jewish quarter, from right under your noses. Why haven't you done anything?
We don't know who is behind this. Without evidence, we cannot punish them.
Otto von Berghoff did not ask questions in Prague either. He acted. And I advise you to do the same. Find a couple of wretches in a hole somewhere, point them to the Jewish quarter, and give them free rein to do anything. The city's Jewish community was and still is on Wenceslas' side. They need a warning.
We do not even have enough men to...
Marquardt, could you spare a few men for a while?
Of course, sire. I'll assign them to Eric. He'll take care of it.
So you see, all you have to do is make sure the city rebel get their share. You could at least manage that, couldn't you? And if the thought should cross your minds that you would get rid of the debts to the Jewish moneylenders this way, forget about it. Your debts will remain, up to the last groschen. Only now you owe us directly. And while we are on the subject of money, has the yield from the mines finally matched last year's?
Sire, the deposits are dwindling, and mining is becoming increasingly difficult. And to make matters worse, the miners started rebelling.
Don't take us for a fool. They'll stop rebelling when you pay them proper wages.
Your Majesty, we can't do that.
Silence!
How dare you oppose the kingdom's protector? You're a bunch of incompetent sycophants! Chicken shits! Not any better than the scum hiding in the forest.
And drunks! Give them hell! Lazy fools, the lot of them.
How dare you?
Some of you are even swelling right here in the city council meeting. This is unbelievable.
Remove this swillpot from the hall immediately.
I'm telling the truth. This whole council is a farce. The whole city knows it.
Lord of Sargits, your insolence just cost you your place on the council, and a month in the dungeon.
But...
Hopefully that'll be enough for him to sober up. And if not, put him in the pillory for a while, bailiff.
I'll see to it as soon as the council is over, Your Majesty.
All I hear from you over and over again are excuses and prevarication. And results? None. I therefore place the city council under the authority of Sir Marquardt von Aulitz, who is present here, with immediate effect. He will make sure you finally do your duty.
But, sire, that would be a violation of the privileges granted to us as a free mining town.
Silence! I am the only guarantor of your rights. You have to earn your privileges, not hide behind them. During my brother's reign, this idleness was perhaps tolerated. But that is over now. You were given a few simple tasks. But instead of working on them, you idled in the baths and lined your pockets. And let the traitors cast their nets undisturbed. But unlike my brother, I am capable of creating order. And I assure you, I do not distinguish between those who stand in my way. Be they beggars, you have two, I want and you answer only to, the council is dismissed. You,